I, I watched it at 7 o'clock. So let me get started. Okay, this is Lunenburg Park Commission, Wednesday, December 18th. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and it will be broadcasted over the Lunenburg Public Access channel and uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on the notice. The members are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance or participation is being provided as a courtesy, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the broadcast, unless otherwise provided by law. Members of the public with particular interest of any specific item on the agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may be in fact discussed, but other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. So in calling the meeting to open session, I'm going to take attendance. So myself, Anita Schipers, chair.
Chris Sullivan.
Karen Menard. Colleen Shapiro.
Okay, thank you. And we have with us tonight Chris Ruth, our facilities director, and Angela Cummins, who is our recreation director. Thank you. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the facilities director update, which for this meeting includes a report of park accounts.
So I have here, if you guys need copies of it, that's the current printout of the park revolving fund. So far, the majority of the costs of this, or costs in and out, are rec programs, which I can let Angela speak to. The only one on there that is a kind of a maintenance one was some work done over at Veterans Park. If there's money left in my regular operating budget, we'll move that over at the end of the fiscal year in order to retain as much as we can in the revolving account. Other than that, it lists the beach fees, park field fees, and program fees that come in. Pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot that's hit the account yet, so I'm not sure if anyone has any questions on any of the other items.
Looks good to me.
The other parks account purchase of service, the vast majority of that one, which is our day-to-day operating fund, is currently spent on the landscaping. There's a few dollars left over for repairs, but it's pretty tight. I'm hoping to get some more into that for next year to be able to get more repairs around the parks done. But at the moment, it's very tight. As far as other facilities updates, we got all the fall cleanups done, and for the most part, everything's frozen up and not a whole lot happening outside at the moment.
I know this is a lot for us to take in, being the first chance we have to discuss it with Chris and Angela. If you want to take a few minutes just to look at it, or we can, just take it home, and if anybody has any questions, we can pose those to Chris next time we meet. It's up to you.
I think that's probably the best.
Yeah, take some time to actually digest it. And what you see on there of the budget is not the account total. They're completely different things in the Munis software we use. So the account total is never listed on any of these reports. No. And the town has decided to stay with Munis for upgrade.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. And moving forward, we'll just have brief quarterly updates. Okay. All right, what else did you got for us in terms of?
Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of this for my update. I'm sure Angela has updates on program running.
So the one thing on the revolving funds, Chris and I were just meeting about it before the meeting started. The finance director wants Chris to provide a budget for the revolving fund, because the change in revolving fund was approved at town meeting, has not yet been blessed by the Attorney General's office, but we're, under the assumption that it will be, the finance director is looking to try to have Chris submit a budget, that reflects, what we're looking for moving forward. Now, the amount that we had put into that article for town meeting was a not to exceed 77,000. But obviously that's not what we have in our current revolving fund. What Chris and I were talking about was potentially increasing the salary line items so that it would reflect what we think we were, what we had talked about potentially doing. And knowing that, what we're gonna be hearing from Angela regarding staffing at the beach house, that's all the more reason why we may wanna increase that line item.
And part of the tricky thing of that is the beach fees hit the revolving account, they go into it. The salary line item is not taken out of the revolving fund, it's taken out of the regular operating budget. So we'd have to look at how we handle, if we can take some out of the revolving and transfer it to the other one. But it's not quite as simple as just, here are the numbers. We'd have to say, either increase our budget on the salary line item on the other side, or just put a line item in the revolving of, we've been running about $4,000 to $5,000 over on beach staff salary. And again, that may change due to staffing issues, so.
Okay, that might be a good discussion.
Bit of a moving target at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so if everyone's okay with Chris moving in and working with the finance director and getting that pulled together? Okay.
These budgets can be revised throughout the year. We try not to do it all the time, but it is possible.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, recreation director update.
So since we're talking about the beach house, I guess we should start there. I think we're gonna run into a similar issue we ran into last year where we were concerned about staffing kind of right from the jump.
Yeah.
This year's a little different where I don't believe that Liz is gonna be returning as beach director. And she's done things a certain way for how many years, her mom did certain things for how many years. My basic knowledge of like the way she runs things is basically all paper trail kind of, so I'd have to like go back and look at her stuff just to see even how she split things up for swim groups. My assumption is that she knew a lot of the families for a long time and they've been coming for so long that she kind of knew their skill levels and things like that. So I think that's gonna be part of the issue, not having that, is I'm not familiar with, any of the kids.
Right.
In terms of lifeguards coming back, I got a definite yes from 2 people, and that was it. Some people haven't responded to me yet, and some are, kind of up in the air. So I think we definitely need to hit the ground running in terms of getting lifeguards, and specifically someone, hopefully 2 people who are WSI certified, because that's the issue we ran into, where we weren't able to run the Saturday swim lessons because somebody on site has to be WSI certified to run those. So
They don't have to get in the water.
they don't have to be in the water with them, but they do
But
have
on
to
site.
they have to be on site. So we didn't run any Saturday lessons last year, and I think that definitely, we got, a few comments from people that they wish we did. What Liz said in the past, that the numbers weren't that good for Saturday swim lessons, but I think it's more like it was harder to staff somebody there for Saturday swim lessons than it was to get people to come and join for it. It's definitely busiest hours during swim lessons during weekdays too. So I know we're talking about like staffing and how much, we're gonna have to put in the fund to like pay them. I don't know necessarily if we always needed the 4 people, because it seems like there were steadily 4 people, but it also depends on the lessons. So I think our probably best bet would be to, staff a little heavier in the morning when that happens, and then we can kind of drop down to, 1 or 2 in the afternoon when the lessons aren't going on. You definitely need 1 person to at least do check-in and sign and stuff like that. Collect any fees like people are paying. But other than that, I don't think, we need 4 people there at like 4 p.m.
Angela, should, we, meaning you, be proactive in the swim lesson piece and sort of figure out how other towns do theirs. Like, I noticed that when I went on my rec for some other towns, like you were signing up for a specific swim lesson level.
I think that's a good and a bad thing, but I think a lot of parents don't really know what level their kids should be in, so we're gonna end up doing a lot of like switching,
Yeah,
which is my only concern with that. I
Okay.
agree with you because at least there, someone would be like, oh, I'm signing up for this lesson. It's at this time to this time, and they know what level their kid's in. My only concern is, like I said, is if we have to like flip flop people around. I did work for like an aquatic center and they did that. They had people sign up for, you know, a certain level. And I think a lot of it was people being switched around.
Yeah.
But I think we get good feedback where people actually know this is what class my kid's in, this is what they're signed up
because I
for.
think that if we, I think the other thing, and I don't know if there's a paper trail of it, but when we have returning kids,
Yeah,
they either passed or didn't pass their level
Right.
the year before. So and we issue them a card, so I would
Yeah.
hope that we'd have some sort of paper trail
I'm
somewhere in
sure
the
we
beach
do.
house, but
yeah,
you know, that might be a place to start too, cause I
Okay.
think if we're saying to parents, save your card, you're gonna need to know this information when you register your kid next year.
right,
Or give them something at the end of the season that says, you know, you may not have passed this year, but next
Yeah.
year you're repeating this level and put the level down and just keep that list.
yeah, that would be.
So I think
extremely
next summer,
helpful.
you know, no matter what next summer looks like in terms of the beach, if we have different staff, I think that's gonna be a learning season for
Yeah.
us. But I think we can probably figure it out.
Yeah, I think we can figure it out. I'm just gonna have to dig through, whatever she has had in the past, cause I do like my rec in the sense of I can see how many people are registered for which thing, but the problem is all I have is, this is session 1, this is like a Saturday session, this is how many people signed up. I don't know which time they're even in, I don't know what level they're in, I don't have access to that. So I just definitely need to get like some more of that stuff, just to get a better general idea of the levels and who's in what and how many people we can take. in
I'm
each
gonna guess
session.
it's in the tall filing, that information is probably in the
I
tall
think so,
filing cabinet that is in the back room.
yeah, so I'll have to dig through that.
Like the way back room, not the front room when you,
Okay.
not the room when you first walk in on the left, the one that's all the way down the hall to the right.
Okay.
Unless they moved it, it was put in that last room on the right,
All
at
right.
their request.
I think with a new director coming in, it's gonna help us, or give us the opportunity to really write some policies and procedures for the beach, cause I think it's been run the way it's always been run. And the same people were there, so it kind of just continued. I think it's a good opportunity to, you know, set a rain policy. If it rains for 1, 2 hours, sorry, beach is closed. We can't keep staff on and pay them for no reason.
Right,
You know, expectations of what we need our staff doing, and I think a real opportunity to put a manual together of,
Yeah.
this is how the beach is supposed to be run.
Yeah.
And this is how it will be run from now on.
yeah, I agree.
And, you know, I'm sure there's other communities that have something we can, you know, take samples and
Yeah.
not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I'm just,
Right.
it's hard to come up with a plan when I don't know how much we're gonna have a staffing issue, so my thing was get the ground, hit the ground running with the staffing portion, try to get,
Yes,
fix whatever we need for our titles and our descriptions for beach director and lifeguards and stuff like that, and just try to get all that. The other thing I brought up is I was hoping that we'd have the ability to possibly, pay people more who are WSI certified. I don't know why that's not already an option. So right now, if you're WSI certified, you're the most certified person on the beach, basically at that point, and
And they're getting paid the same rate?
They're getting paid the exact same rate.
do we have the ability to pay stipends for things like that?
I don't
And that's
know.
what we need to make sure. Currently, we pay for them to get the certification.
Right.
We reimburse them.
Right,
So they have that incentive, but they're also going through the extra work to get a certification, and then they get paid the exact same.
yeah,
And the crazy part is, 2 or 3 years ago, our most certified guard was 17 years old, and I didn't find out till after the fact that he was the one that was there, like signing off on everything, because he was the only one that was
Right.
WSI certified.
Uh,
And I actually looked at the mom, Sarah Cornella, and I said, I wish I had known that, because
Right.
we would have had somebody step in before, the end of the
Right.
summer, when said you were completely stressed over this whole thing all summer.
yeah, and that's a lot to put on one person.
Well, especially at 17 years old.
Of
it's like,
course,
you know.
yeah, but I do think that would give us more options for people to actually wanna get certified, other than
Yeah.
just being reimbursed, because that process kinda takes a little bit for them to get reimbursed in the first place.
Mhm.
But I think that would give more incentive for us, if we can actually pay them more money, then they're gonna actually wanna get their certification. Which we desperately need for people to do swim lessons.
Is there a way to quickly find out what other communities are doing?
And certainly reach out.
Yeah, I can look up stuff probably and try to figure that out.
And maybe you could bring us a proposal back for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Other good thing is the town has finally come up with a credit card policy, which seems simple, but in the past, the certifications, the Red Cross certifications, had to come out of someone at this table's pocket
Right.
and then get reimbursed,
Right.
which is really not fair to ask anyone to do.
Right.
So at least now with that, it will make the process simpler,
Right, that's good to know.
especially, I mean, even some of the state certifications require them to be paid by credit card. So the town didn't even have an option to pay them before, so. Moving in the right direction.
How old is like that? How old do you have to be like that?
16.
I don't know.
I think it goes by the Red Cross requirement.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I think is 16.
Other than the beach stuff, like I said, I'll look through the description, I'll work with Chris and just see if there's anything, I can also send it to you guys. If you wanna see the description that we currently have, just for lifeguard certifications, what they need. Other than that, we're really popular program wise right now for pickleball, which is a hit, obviously, and then volleyball. So we're basically running back-to-back sessions of like, we're gonna do Wednesday pickleball, we're at session, I think this is the second session now, we have another session starting soon. I also opened a Thursday one to fill in the gap, from basically when, I don't know if it's Boys or Girls Club uses it till 5. Then we have pickleball running 5 to 6:30, and then 6:30 to 8:30, there's volleyball. So, I was actually locking up the gym for me for that, which is great to have. Other than that, I'm offering the Snapology, which is the STEM programs, that's kind of happening pretty frequently. We're just ended one today, another one starting in like 2 weeks. Other than that, I also opened some school vacation programs, so MA Sports League's coming back, which they do the multi-sports program, and then we have a STEM program coming in as well. Numbers are kind of still low for that because it's still early, but other than that, we're doing really good programming wise. So much so that people are, already asking. I didn't even open a second session for Thursday pickleball, and they're asking for a third. So, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good on numbers. We're almost full every time, so that's a good sign, and I don't want to fix it if it's not broke. So I think that's good.
Okay. Can we jump back to beach staffing, for a second? So we've been talking about doing an analysis of what we really do need for the, the staffing, and you had mentioned that, in terms of, do we need all 4 all day?
Right.
What process are we gonna use to try to make that decision? And how can we help with that process?
I feel like the best way to do that would be like look at, it's hard to say, just looking at the numbers that we have them track every day of how many people are, we have them check in, I think it's like twice a day, like just this is what time it is how many people are on the beach. In the past, we're not sure if that's even completely accurate, like as if maybe they just forgot to do it and then just kind of wrote something in. I think the numbers of people coming and going and like when they checked in is gonna be like the best way to decide. I mean, I think it's gonna have to be a play by ear situation also. So we're just gonna have to, it's a learning curve. I think we're gonna have to try to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I think looking at the numbers is probably our best way to do that. I can't really think of another.
Look at that, and maybe historical data of weather, but that's kind of a monumental task to put all that together.
Right.
I think there's 2 pieces of this that need to be looked at. I think it's the staffing, what we actually need for staff.
Right.
And I think some of that, I mean, I've started over the summer, I have not completely finished it because other things got in the way, but I started looking at our staffing numbers to see how many people were on each day type thing. And that's all fine, but at the same time, if I don't know how many people were on even checked into the beach that day.
Right.
So I think that's helpful. I think we need to start looking at like, what are our really busy days? Cause I think it will I think there's probably a trend to be seen, but I think that, I think we really need to look at, what I think is probably as equally important is our beach hours and what we're opened, like the hours that we're open, because if we can pull up our numbers that say we don't get anybody that checks in after 5 o'clock, why are we staying open till 7? If we don't get anybody on a Saturday that comes before 2 o'clock, and that's pretty,
Yeah.
that's what it's trending at, then, do we just open for a few hours in the afternoon? I think looking at those 2 will help with
Okay.
some of the staffing stuff too, just because we may, if we you know, if we don't have to fill as many hours.
Right.
We may not need as many
And for
people,
some
so-
reason, and like in the POS system, which is attached to my rec, like you can look in that day, like how many people checked in and what times and who checked in. But I have had so much trouble trying to find like backtracking and going back and looking at it. But if I'm able to find that, I think that will be like the best determinator. As much as it doesn't really like count for day passes, I think most people are at that point like seasonal, so I think that would be like also a good indicator, just that itself. About check-ins, just so we have like a range of times that are, you know, the most popular.
Yeah, your day people are just, they're coming on a whim
Right.
anyway, so
And I
if the hours are out, that we can determine the hours are out there, then they can come
And
on a
we
whim on the hour on the beaches.
Not
Right, when it's
rarely
open,
get
right.
that, but we definitely have way more people that come like seasonally and get a pass than, you know, just come for a day. That's usually somebody visiting or something like that, more than anything.
So how do we want to gather this data and how much can we help you? Do you want to gather the data and we'll pull a few people together and sit down with you and pour over it all, or how do you want to approach this?
I'm gonna reach out to my rep to see if there's a way for me to get the past check-ins and logins, just so I can see that information.
Okay.
Other than that, I do have like every sheet from every single day, like the last 2 summers, but that's obviously, I think I sent
I
it
have
to
it.
you. It's very tedious to go through it because it's every day, you know, but if you guys wanna help me by going through that, you know, maybe we could just split it up by like, someone does a few weeks or something like that, and then.
I may have the bulk of it already.
Yeah, I think you have the bulk of it, and I don't think you have the previous years.
No, I don't.
But I did the same thing the previous year, where it was basically just like, how many people paid which day passes, whatever, how many people were checked in at a certain time.
Yeah.
So that might be like also a good indicator, it's just, like I said, it's a tedious thing. So
I mean, I'd be glad to help look at it. If you
Okay.
want to pull some,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
As much help as we can get Angela, because
Yeah.
she's only 19 hours a week,
Right,
so
exactly.
if we tire her up going through all
Yeah.
the pages, there's a lot of other stuff not getting done.
I don't like tedious tasks anyways.
Okay, so, when you've got the stuff,
Yep,
can you send an email and say?
Yeah.
I
What you
need,
need.
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you want to have, what is our deadline that we want to try to have this figured out by?
I would say
Makes sense.
February, because I think we would be
Posting jobs.
posting jobs, and I think that you know, and also on this whole beach director thing, if we are successful at bringing in somebody that exclusive for our beach director, I think they're gonna need some time before then, because it used to be that the staff just showed up, you know, maybe a week
Right.
before and sort of hit the ground running. This new person
Yeah.
won't have that luxury, so whatever we do, we're gonna need to build in some hours for that person to get up to speed.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So to be able to provide them, you know, when they're brought on board, but so that's gonna affect the, if we are successful at finding somebody in that position, it's gonna affect the seasonal.
Yeah,
We have to pay attention to those seasonal dates and make sure that we're putting them in for the longest period that we can.
okay,
Not into September, but maybe whatever it is through the end of August, first week of September or whatever.
right.
We also talk to the folks over at Town Hall and see if there's any way for an onboarding not to count against the seasonal hours.
Yeah, that's true
Because
too.
that's the problem, I think it's limited at 20 weeks, so.
Yeah,
Training might be above and beyond that, so.
Okay, that makes sense.
Amazing the silly things we have to deal with to get through it.
Okay, good. Are, anything else for us in terms of beach stuff before we jump onto the vendor fair?
For those that saw that Facebook post, the coyote is there to try to scare the geese.
Oh, I did see that.
Oh my goodness, we had one of those at our house in Maine, and the geese literally like circle around
you know,
it.
this
I'm
one
like,
is the bizarrest thing. I had
That was
no.
an
Weird.
owl.
It's so weird.
I showed, it is a very strange position, and I showed up to open the beach for, the polar plunge. And my husband was with me, and I just looked at him, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't, it's not
I
even,
gotta go
it's
by
not
and
even a whole coyote, it's like a coyote mask head thing that's on like some cinder blocks, and we moved it for that thing, and then we put it back, but I
Picture
was
someone
like,
posted made it look like a rabbit.
It's
Like it
a,
looked like a
So
rabbit.
I thought it
that's
was
actually
some
been
sort of
open
dog.
for probably 20 years. It was on the front end of the beach house. And when we finally cleaned all those weeds and stuff out, we found it sitting there. So that's been there for
Remember?
quite some time. Enough for, 1 to 2 inch caliber trees to grow around the thing.
I haven't
So
seen,
it's been-
I haven't seen any geese down there, so clearly the pooping coyote, that's what
We
it
could try,
was.
we could try to bait them onto the condos there.
Right,
Just like
send 'em
to
over
eat.
there.
We should start moving around town,
Yeah.
randomly placing it.
Put it
places.
on your lawn.
See if people find it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, wanna jump to the vendor fair?
Yeah, so we're definitely still in the very beginning stages of it, but we kind of figured out which spaces we're planning on using. There's a lot of things I need to do in terms of like figuring out what our, like certificate of liability insurance covers, because I was planning on doing a bouncy house, a dunk tank, things like that. So I need to definitely ask Nancy kind of what's covered and see if I need certain waivers done for anyone participating in any of these things. My other thing was volunteers. We're gonna definitely need volunteers. But I don't know in terms of the town, like what screening we need to do for any volunteers.
No, good point.
So that's another thing. I don't really know who to ask about that. Maybe we could ask Annie and she would know who to ask, but, just wanna make sure everything, we're gonna need help, but I just wanna make sure they will go through the proper channels and they're approved to help, basically.
Yeah.
Typically, it's the town manager,
Cory checks
the
it
Cory
probably. Yeah.
authorized person,
Yeah,
so it would be through the town manager's office.
okay, so probably Julie then.
Yeah, it is Julie.
Okay.
Julie's our Cory. I feel like when we did the, when the town did the artisan fair thing, not this past, I don't know what AdCom did. They may be able to tell you what they did, but, we had a big vendor fair years ago, what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? Laura Brzezowski was one of the one that ran.
Feels like a long time. Pretty cool.
And I don't remember having to jump through any special hoops for that.
Okay, yeah,
Actually, mural with the library might be a good resource.
Yeah.
'Cause I think they either just did or they're about to do a vendor fair inside the library.
oh, cool.
Yeah, they did one a couple weeks ago.
Alright,
Unfortunately, the issue with Cory's is you have to be Cory for every single
right,
thing.
Right, right.
Like, probably I'm Cory'd like 4 times, I think, but.
Mhm.
okay.
Doesn't
It's
count.
me on that, but,
And then I kind of was just thinking like, to find like an outlet that we can just have people sign up online or something like that, that are interested, and then whatever process we have to go through, we can just send them kind of the information that they need. So like I said, we definitely need volunteers,
School would be good for that too, National
Yeah.
Honor Society type.
yeah, I think that's a good point.
But they don't have to be Cory,
Yeah, the kids.
That's right.
Yeah, they're most of them are 18.
so they're easy
Yeah.
volunteers.
There's actually a civics class too that they need to volunteer. I had a group of kids reach out to me, and it's not actually a park property, but they were looking to clean up Kids Kingdom a little bit,
Oh, wow.
so.
Oh, that's cool. Other than that, the other thing I have to do is just ask Annie, and we have to put it in front of a select board meeting to see if we could shut down, Memorial Drive, for cars and stuff like that. Our ultimate goal is to basically shut down that whole road. We would keep the, the circle, the roundabout type of thing open for just like any food trucks, stuff like that, other vendors, so that would all be closed. And then we'd have people park kind of like with the school's permission, like middle school, high school parking lots. I forget where Josie found them, but somebody was volunteering, that they'd help us with like, do like a little hay ride from basically the parking lots into the circle, which the Boys and Girls Club
It's
did
gonna
something
be Little
similar.
Places Ranch.
Yeah, Boys and Girls Club did something super similar.
They
for
did that at the
Halloween stuff.
agricultural fair too,
Yeah,
and it was
so
like running.
I think something like that, it would be easier, obviously, to go around, because there's not gonna be cars parked. I know that was an issue with some of the other times they did that. The only thing was like the food truck would be an issue, so we'd have to kind of figure that out. Other than that, we also have Good Pickin' Farm that's gonna come in, do like a little petting zoo. They kind of told me how much space they needed, and they kind of needed a shady area, but other than that, there's not much else I need to provide for them. Some of the stuff would be like, people have to bring cash to kind of cover it, and some of the stuff I'm hoping like the parks, we can cover through our budget. So, I don't have an exact number of anything right now. I know how much, I know roughly, I think with delivery and everything and setup of like the bouncy house and the dog tank, I think it was like $700 or something like that. So I know like that's roughly what they were charging for that. I think other than that, I'm just still trying to get my ducks in a row to get like any of the certificate of liability insurance stuff covered as well first before I do anything else.
And can you remind us what that date was we were looking at?
May
10th?
10th, yes, it was I think it was the day before Mother's Day. And then I know we're doing some signage and stuff like that. Josie's doing a lot of that stuff. She'll cover anything really like related to like the vendors themselves.
Mhm.
So, for me, it's more just like possibly getting like a tent chair set up for people, making sure parking's okay. We have those two things we'll add. I know the adult activity center, they're having somebody new come in. I don't know if they've hired them yet or not.
They have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't really talked to the new person, obviously, because I didn't know they were hired yet. So I don't know what they're willing to participate, but I think at least like their back patio, you know, maybe some live music there.
Yeah.
But basically everybody on that street agreed to volunteer and like also be a part of it, so we'll have extra like restrooms, stuff like that. But obviously no parking.
So far, the new director over there, I met her since.
I have a request from the 300th anniversary committee.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
If there would be we're not selling, there's nothing to sell, there's nothing to
yeah,
do anything, but we're hoping that we can get a donated table just to start to spread the word that it's 3 years away, 2.5 years away. Kind of deal.
I'm sure we'll have all of our tables set up, so we can certainly give them one of those.
yeah.
Seems like a good use of it.
Our last couple meetings have been, we started too early.
Yeah.
So I think our first real kickoff meeting is gonna be
Yeah, no, I think
April
that
or
would be
whatever. I
great.
think. Thank you.
Like anything else, so like Josie's doing with a lot of the vendors, I'll just like tell her obviously what, cause I know through like Lunenburg Business Association, I know they have like fees for like members and non-members,
Mhm.
but I assume like we're kind of separate from that, so if we wanna set something up,
Yeah,
I don't see a
municipal
problem
sort
with
of-
that, as long as I let her know, yeah. And then I just probably would have to look into getting porta potties just as an addition, and then run that all through the Board of Health and anything like
I'd
that.
throw that out there too, to like conservation, things like that, if they wanna publicize
Yeah.
trails or things like that, like it'd be like the municipal side of it.
Right.
If
Mhm.
you're not selling something, you're just,
Yeah.
you're to
Yeah,
talk about the town kind of deal, if they can add a couple
I think
tables
that's
in.
important
If,
also.
if
Usually
you're,
see
if you're a
that.
town entity, you're not getting charged to be on town property.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right,
So you usually see those at, I know I've done it like Groton Fest, like their trail network has a thing out, you know, at the tent out, and they have maps and things like that, that's something with the trail network.
Yeah, I want to be like really, you know, as inclusive as we can, within reason. I mean, we have a good amount of space to use, so. My only issue is like just making sure I get permission to use the parking lots at the high school, so I don't know.
On a Saturday, I don't think.
Did they determine it's just public property? and you can park
Yeah.
Is
I
that-
think so, yeah, I
Pretty
think
sure.
that's,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, the courtesy is good.
Yeah, I did ask them,
You know?
and they didn't get back to me,
Yeah.
so I'm just hoping it's okay, but I'll shoot them another email just to ask.
There's still down a facilities director too, so.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't
that's
really have-
true. They got their
I think
hands
it's-
full.
I really do think it's more like an FYI, like,
Right.
hey, just,
Mhm.
we're gonna be
If
having
you
this.
approach it
and
that way.
Okay.
here's your-
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, let us know if you have any concerns.
Okay.
Yeah, if they have any sports going on that day, try to.
There are some, there's just.
You'll have
Soccer.
soccer,
I think, just so you guys
which
know,
is
I
usually in
think
the lower.
timing wise, kind of what we discussed is maybe like an 11 to 5, maybe, something like that, 11 to 6. So something like that, cause, anything that basically we're using is gonna have to be set that day.
Yeah.
So I'll just obviously have to get here early and make sure that goes good, but it gives us enough time to set stuff up and not be,
There wouldn't be a schedule up for youth soccer until like first of May,
okay,
first of April anyway.
okay,
So you wouldn't there wouldn't be a set schedule yet.
Okay.
but
no
It'd
problem,
be a mix of, like, it's never that all the games are home all day.
right.
It's usually
Mm.
like there's a 9 and then there's
Makes sense
not a
when we have,
10:30
you
and
know,
there's a
field
noon and there's
issues.
right. This would be the year when they have,
Yeah,
everyone's home.
maybe I
That's
should
it.
give them an FYI about it. Alright, great.
Okay, cool. Do you have anything else for us?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Angela while we have her here?
Do we wanna jump to the Earth Day one, just cause if the commission does want, I'm sure Angela would be involved in that.
Sure, yeah, we can do that, it shouldn't take too long. So, Colleen, you wanna speak to this one?
Yeah, last year we worked, with the Conservation Commission, organizing some of their, the Earth Day cleanups. And it was I think it was, we must have voted on it, or I don't know, that it was an official thing,
I
like.
don't know if he voted or.
Mary
It
Wilson
happened.
emailed and said, do you wanna
Happened.
formally do it again, you know, in partnership this year?
I
And
think we all just kind of individually
I-
said we'd get involved.
I think so too, so I didn't know if it was official last year or not, I didn't know if we should make it official, I don't know what difference it makes if it is or not, but. I am happy to work with Mary and we just basically,
I'll grab something, I mean, I'll do something.
yeah, I mean, you guys both did something anyway, but I
Just
mean,
next
I.
13 will be there.
Right, I just, you know, delivered trash bags and signed people up and whatever, you know.
Hey, that's a
and-
job.
So, but when she sent that email, I was like, I don't know, should we discuss it and formally do it, so we can, I don't know, we don't have to vote on anything, we can just say, yeah, well.
Specifically, do.
I think she mentioned something, but I can't remember, but we should certainly touch base with her.
Yeah, so Sophia and Conservation, I think, also probably said something, about maybe making it bigger than we have done, so I don't really know what she had in mind, she hasn't talked to me directly yet.
Well, we can, if
Mary said that too, that they were hoping to get more
Yeah,
community involvement, but
Right. I don't know what that would look
she
like,
said she
but-
was looking to get people involved and maybe have a work group, but she didn't say anything beyond what exactly
Okay,
that would look like or what they meant.
well, maybe if you could, you know, plan something and, you know, send out emails, then we could better respond as to, you know, how we feel it might be appropriate for us to formally or as individuals informally help out.
Right, okay.
Great to support it, though, for sure.
It's always fun to, even if it rains.
Well, and we had like, it was a couple, it was at least 2 full weekends, maybe it might have actually been 3.
You expand the
I
whole
think
month.
it was 3,
Basically,
because,
availability.
yeah, because I think somebody had something planned already, so
On
I
a
don't,
Tuesday this year too, so it's not like there'll be any big event on a Tuesday for
Right.
us, it'll be the weekend
Right.
before and the weekend after,
yeah,
sure.
Did you want to bring up your concept of
Yeah, so
trees?
if we are getting involved, so there's actually a program, as Unitil cuts trees throughout town, they actually are supposed to supply the trees back to the town.
Oh.
And the DPW doesn't always have locations for those to go to, and that's kind of who it would run through. I briefly mentioned it to the director, and he's trying to look at the dates that they actually give them trees, if it's consistent. But there may be the potential that Unitil is giving the town trees anyway, and we can kind of find spots to go and plant them, parks, other public properties, and, you know, the tree doesn't have to go back when they cut it, because they cut it, because there was a reason, either the power lines was dying, whatever it was.
Or we don't want it.
So,
they're just gonna come back and cut it down.
Thanks for the tree.
I mean, usually you're taking a full grown one, it takes a few years for it to be a problem, but, Bill, that DPW is tree warden. And then Unitil has a dedicated guy for town that
Well, that's a fun ring.
runs around and does that,
Yes.
so.
Brian.
Bill was gonna reach out to him and see if they had set dates, cause, you know, I don't know what time the nurseries are getting the trees and where they're getting them from.
Right.
But if we could have them in time for Earth Day, I think it'd be a cool use for everyone to go and say, hey, we're gonna put a tree over here and a tree over there,
Everyone wants to come plant a tree.
You know you can be our tree warden, right?
and I have no interest in it.
Just making sure you know, because Parks has we are by charter allowed to be our own tree warden.
We can have a tree warden.
We
I mean,
can be the tree warden.
For
if
the
we
parks I
wanted.
am, I mean,
Yes.
the Unitil reached out because they had to cut a tree at the Denali that was dead and overhang the power lines. But I live on one of
That'd be
those
a
fun
cool
roads in
idea.
town where you're not even allowed to cut trees, so I don't want nothing to do with it.
No,
We don't say anything to cut trees, right, Colleen?
yeah, no, they're not, they don't do too much, like,
That one just fell
can't
on its
cut them
own.
down, yep.
Okay. All right, so that's it for Earth Day. Did you have any thoughts on that, Angela, or do you wanna?
no, I'll help however I can, and I can definitely like touch base directly with Sophie and just like talk to her and see if she had like a big picture in mind herself,
Okay.
so I'll help however I can for that.
All right.
Pulled 124 pounds of trash and lawnmower off of
Yeah, that's
just a
incredible,
section of Highland and
Wow.
half of Holman Street last year.
yeah.
A lawnmower, huh?
Yeah, it's been sitting in the weeds by there's like a drain halfway down Holman before you get to Northfield.
Yeah.
It had been sitting there for
So it wasn't working?
years, and the weeds, vines are all grown through it and so forth. And I was like, oh, finding an excuse to pull this out, it's gonna go in the back end of a truck and it's gonna be gone.
Yeah, we actually have to set up trail cams at Marshall. That's why the back gate is closed right now, because people were dumping mattresses out there. So,
I won't be in Costa Rica this year, so I can
Okay, all right, well, Angela, I think we're done.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Unless there's
Thank
any,
Oh, you
you.
don't. Yeah, that's
Have
right.
a good night.
you too, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Are all the doors locked? I mean, all the door lock situations all good, by the way? Or do you need help locking doors at night? Still?
Oh, I think I'm good for now, yeah.
We'll just yell again if you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'll send an email. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Okay, Marshall Park updates. So first one is,
You wanna go back to
beach staff, oh, Marshall Park user fees, thank you, I appreciate that. And she's here tonight, so, when we met last, we were talking about, you know, what do we wanna do with the fees for Marshall Park? And, you know, we have no data at this point really, to compare what other communities are doing. Although your group had said that you might be able to help us try to gather more current data from other communities. That which would be helpful.
Sure.
But my question is, what kind of process do we want to put into this? And, you know, is this something that we can do in time for it to be informative for what the user groups need? Or is this something that we think it needs to be a longer term look and have something be put in place for next year? You know, I mean, we're limited people and, you know,
Well, they probably start signing people up.
Yeah.
I was gonna say shortly after the holidays, right? So.
yeah. So it's not really fair to try to make any changes at, you know, at this point for them. You've got basically your expectations all set. Doesn't mean we can't start looking at it and, you know, putting careful thought into it and be ready to propose something that can go into effect for next year. But I need some feedback from you all.
That would be my recommendation. I mean, I know, obviously they're starting up pretty soon with registrations and things like that. So I think it's prudent to roll forward with what we've had in place for the moment and come fall, you know, the fall season next year, or work with you guys to see what, you know, if we're making changes and so what makes sense in terms of rolling out a registration process and so forth. If it's a completely different process and it's the fall ball kind of deal or the following spring or, you know, whatever it needs to be, but I wouldn't recommend making any changes rashly now. With, you know, with them getting started here first of the year and other groups probably getting started first
So
part of the
do
year.
you think this is something that we can, you know, kind of aim to start working on in February?
Yeah, it'd be great to start to gather data, you know, true, realistic, real-time
Where are
data.
we gonna get that from them? So here's my concern, and this is, I am not a proponent to wait on this. I think that our fees have been set at these fees for a few years, that we're not looking to double the fees, that even raising them $5 is better than nothing. It's not going to cover enough of our maintenance fees anyway, but I think it starts moving in a direction. So, because what could potentially happen is if we don't do anything now and we wait, we could be looking at a massive increase next year, and I don't think that's what we wanna do either. You know, but where do we get that data from? Where are we gonna get it from? Because I made a request already once to TJ and I didn't get a response. We've asked for information before and not gotten it. You know, it's, where are we gonna get this data from? I don't know if we're gonna get anything more than we already have, which is what they registered, like, you know, they paid for 168 users for the baseball program and for just the spring season, and the Phillies were 20. They had 20 kids. So that's that's the data, that's all I have to even say this is what we have. So, you know, if you want more than that, we need to know what you want so that we can tease that out of wherever we need to tease it.
I was with the data, I guess I was just talking about, you know, realistic, real time, you know, current year registration numbers, I guess. I guess it was gonna be data I think we look for and then just figuring out what other towns are doing.
Be the best starting point, see what everyone else is kind of doing.
That's my only hesitation in making a quick, I hear what you're saying, like, I mean, and I do think there has to be an increase of some kind. I just don't know what that looks like. We do need to start looking at making sure we're having an impact on the budget that goes in, you know, is put out to take care of the grounds, we also need to make sure the grounds, you know, that we're, you know, mindful of working with things that we started to talk about, like working with baseball and softball to, you know, have a seamless sort of understanding of what needs to be maintained and timelines and all that kind of deal, and the best channel to go about that, but I just don't wanna make my only inkling would be not to make a quick decision, given the timeline that, you know, being respectful of the timeline they're on, I guess. But to your point, I guess if we're anticipating an increase of some kind and we bump it a few bucks, we bump it a few bucks, cause we're gonna probably increase it anyway.
When was the last increase, do you know?
I'd have to, I mean, I can, before you're talking.
I don't think it's been an increase since I've been on the, I don't think it's been an increase since I've been on the commission, and I've been. Right?
It has been an increase since you,
No, I don't think.
I'm pretty sure, I'm gonna open it now. Good.
Like there hasn't been in the last 2 years, cause
No,
I
there
haven't
has
seen
not
it.
been.
No, that's
No.
huge for sure.
I mean, I agree, it's better to have, I think, you know, for families, it's better to have a small increase. You know, increase a little
Yeah,
bit
that's
now,
what
you
I
see
guess,
it's coming, do
yeah.
a little bit now, rather than a big jump up. You know, next year, but I hate to just arbitrarily
Right, that's why I was
Throw a
we're just throwing a number out.
random number at it, I also do wanna be, you know. Conscientious of the registration's gonna start soon, you know, in a few weeks. So people need to know, and you don't wanna have people registering and then you can't increase it once they've
Right.
started, because that's a headache.
Yeah.
What
What are the registration fees that people are paying nowadays?
It's by division, so we try to keep the young kids cheap. So that, because the families don't actually know.
what's cheap?
I was just gonna tell you that, so.
This is all relative, right, youth
It's all
sports.
Right.
Yeah, so we try to keep T-ball at $50 per kid. And we do incentives and kind of penalties for late and early bird sign up.
But that's what you guys are taking in, not what's being paid out.
So that is that's basically the income we get from them.
And then you have,
Just
you
ignore
have to pay part of that to the town for their.
I mean, half of what they register for is going to the town, so we actually lose money on every division that we take in right now.
So half of the registration fee goes to the town, is that what I heard?
For T-ball,
For T-ball?
yeah.
So
And then
20, you charge $50?
for T-ball, yeah.
Okay, so it's not quite half, but, cause we only.
Isn't it 25?
It's $20.
Oh, 20, so that, if you want, that's our
what is it,
flat.
25?
And that actually is not, so here's the other piece in all of this, that, and I think I've already mentioned this to TJ. They're not using our fields for T-ball, so they're not paying us next season for T-ball. They're only paying us for the teams that they're putting out on Fitzgerald, McNally and Marshall. They're not
Pay
putting.
for School Street, but it's okay.
I know, but
Whose budget?
School Street's not a parks property, it's a town property.
Yeah, but I mean, our money, I don't know if are you splitting it based on the field?
So,
Because we just found
the
one
commission
more.
here
Yeah,
has no say over.
no, I know, I'm just saying,
So you paid last year, it helped cover the
it's fine,
landscaping in any way.
it's fine, doesn't matter. And I'm just saying, if, one question, I guess, is, should we not put the T-ball in first in?
you should not, in my opinion, you should not.
Not into the park side.
Not for the park side.
And it's,
Correct, so when you fill out that user form, you should not include your T-ball program in that, because they're not playing on any parks fields. If the select board, who oversees School Street, wants to charge something,
Which
or,
they don't, we already have the agreement.
yeah, so then no.
Interesting.
So do you know, TJ, do you know how many players last year, just a ballpark number, out of the 168 that you registered for, how many of them would be T-ball?
36.
Okay.
We did 16 to 6.
132.
So that's 2,700. for the upper divisions. That's what.
What do we, is it 20, it's 20,
Yeah, like if they paid us, obviously, but so it would have been, if they have the same registration numbers next year, and I would assume they'd be a little bit different. It would be 2,700, 2,720.
yeah, it's $20 a head, regardless of division or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And then the fees for the Phillies, if they still exist, are based off of residency. So if you're an in-town player, you pay some percentage.
Well, it's the same thing for youth, but it's all.
If both of them are resident cells.
Yeah, so they Phillies registered 20 non-residents last year, and I think that was $35. That was $35.
And I would not expect that this year. I don't know that the team is gonna hold together.
That's fine.
The guy that ran it for all those years, but he, everything was baseball.
Yeah.
The kid that took it over, it's just, I think he realized it was a full-time job.
It's a little more than he thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Okay, so.
Do you have, I mean, what would be your,
So we collect $20 a head.
Because at the end of the day, I don't think any of us are looking to, I don't think any of us would be saying to any youth program in town, you need to pay 100% of the bill. We're not taking our maintenance fees and
No.
dividing them out,
Right.
so we're never going to be able to cover. But I think that I think there needs to be something, and maybe this is what we look at going forward. Do we implement some sort of schedule of a regular increase, like, whether it be a percentage or a flat rate every, 2 years or whatever, so that people know that it's coming or something. I don't know. I just think that it's, I just feel like we are, we have a lot of stuff that needs to get done, and we're always, nickel and diming our budget, and this isn't gonna solve anything, or it will solve some stuff, but it's not gonna solve everything. I don't know. That's just sort of my take on it.
I personally feel like I'd want some information from other communities before I understand the concept of doing a quick, small increase now. But I don't know what the right number is.
So how does that look though, Anita? How does it look in terms of, we look to other communities to see what they're charging? But those other communities could have fees that are, what type of fields do they have? Are they, do they have thick, lush turf and,
It's hard to compare.
it's hard to compare without knowing some of those other pieces. You look at, say, Townsend, for example, they have some
Easter fields or
leasing
something?
type field situation where their youth programs are 100% responsible for the maintenance and everything else that goes out, and that's a huge expense, from what I've been able to tell. So it's like, how do we compare?
I think we need to identify communities that are in the same boat that we are. I mean, like when you're doing salary, checks against other communities, you find what you call your comparable communities that have the same demographics, same physical characteristics. So we need to identify what towns in the area would be similar to us.
Townsend's only got 2 fields, right?
Townsend?
Not kind of
They
high
have
school
like,
stuff.
they have 5, I think. They have 2 areas.
2 areas.
Yeah. So it depends on what you need by field, but yeah.
Cause they have the one up in Fitchburg Road and then the one right by Spalding.
The one that they just totally redid, and then they have a practice field.
Which one did they, oh, they redid the one at Spalding, right? That's
Yeah,
all.
it was cool. Yeah, they fully revamped everything, rebuilt the fields, snack shacks,
Do
everything.
they still have the one over in Timberley too? That field still exists?
I don't know the name of it. I'm not sure. What's the name?
I don't know, my goodness.
Up at Townsend?
Ours. It's $50. What are the fees for the older divisions? Like, what do you charge?
I just gave it to Anita, but
Yeah.
each for the older divisions,
For the rookies, it's 90, minors, it's 150, majors, 170. And softball, it's farm is 90, minors 150, majors 170, seniors 170.
which is all at a loss to us for what it's worth, just.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how that factors in with, I mean, my kids are old, so it's been a while since I was paying for that. That doesn't seem that bad, where if we were to increase, even like you said, by $5, if you're already losing and you pass that on to the families, it would seem to me that you're not getting outside of what youth sports are costing. I don't know, so I guess that was my question. I don't want you guys to push your user fees to something where people are like, this is twice
Right.
what I pay for
Right.
anything else. Like, you know, I don't know what LISA is right now.
I'm trying to look.
Early bird is early bird is then 125,
How much
it goes
does
to
it cost?
150, maybe?
You
I guess
forwarded,
that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at, is if it's in the
Or 8
same.
weeks of.
you forwarded U6, so U4 in soccer is not grade 4, it's
That's travel,
age 4,
that's the
so
travel.
grades age 4 to 6 is $90. In town, which is grade 1 and 2 is $100, and then travel, which is grade 3 and up is $155.
And there's a 25 early bird.
How much are they paying to the schools?
A lot.
Last I knew, they were paying a lot, and they were paying a lot for the turf and never seeing the turf.
One big difference between Liza and us is we pay for the jerseys and the families pay for the jerseys in Liza, which is a huge cost.
No, they don't. Do
Yeah,
they know? Oh,
Not
the
the
travel,
travel,
the
no,
travel
travel you
ones,
do.
I was gonna say the younger kids.
Travel
Yeah,
you do,
the
but you
travel
wear
ones
them
buy the
but you
uniform,
wear
yeah.
them
You
for
wear them for 100 years.
3 years and then pass them on to others.
So,
Other
Yeah,
players-
pass them
other
around,
players
right,
or whatever,
but I was thinking the little kids, they provide
yeah,
them,
they
but yeah.
provide them. LISA, according to their treasurer, pays $13,000 to $14,000 per year for
That's
field
what I thought.
rentals.
Yeah, so that.
So they're between $6,000 and $7,000
A
a
season.
season.
I think it's an hourly, I think it's like an hourly rate.
They do pay an hourly rate, and that does not include, like their lights. So that's just for field rental, so if they're using
Something
fields that
like
require
$3
lights.
an hour.
I
some
have no
sort of
idea.
Random number.
Yeah,
I should have calculated, I tried to use the school field rental form. There's a lot of if else conditions on there.
yeah, you couldn't pay me to charge anybody by the hour, I think that's,
Be crazy.
who wants to keep,
Yeah.
you wanna do the accounting on that?
Not a chance.
There we go.
Maybe
Our
by
guys.
the game, you know, the scheduled game would be possible, but by the hour, absolutely not.
Right.
Cause the overtime to pay one of my guys to monitor would be negated by so much. It would-
Still
So-
negative impact.
If we don't increase the fees, which in the grand scheme, it's not gonna make or break anything. But my request is this, and this is looking at you, TJ, is that when you fill out the forms, you have to provide us with everything that's asked for, including, even if it's not right when the forms are handed in, we wanna be able to know when what you guys are using for hours. Cause although I'm not gonna charge by the hour, at least I would hope while I'm on the commission, we're never charging by the hour. It would be nice to know how many hours our fields are being used by your group. Whether that's, you know, broken out as practice and game, or it's all meshed in one. We never got a copy of a schedule this year, so I couldn't do that on my own. I still have,
Sent that to Angela, I thought. I
she,
think we're required to.
you're supposed to be, but when I asked Angela for it, she said she never got one.
Chris, didn't you send, I thought I sent you one,
I remember-
because you need one for landscaping,
We had,
for game cuts and stuff.
we had something at some point, I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't think I ever had
I'm pretty
anything
sure
for the
we
fall
sent
season.
someone's work, yeah.
And
But-
we don't even have you down as using the fields in the fall. So we have nothing, from what this fall is, from and these have to be looked at too. I know that our field use forms need a lot of work on it, but they're basically a season. So you guys were out there in the spring season, that's all that's all you guys were supposed to use it for, was for the spring
Oh,
season.
gotcha.
And then we find out that there were people out there, or there were teams or something in the fall. I had no idea that you guys were there. They weren't paid for. The per player fee wasn't paid. So, we need to be better at keeping up with that kind of stuff and realizing that our rec director only has 19 hours. And that sometimes there's other people that are trying to collect information for her so we can make informed decisions.
Okay, so I haven't heard a motion to make an immediate small increase. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I'm fine leaving it the way it is, I just,
I think we need to make sure, it sounds to me like we need to make sure that we're not back in the same position next fall, with,
Correct.
you know, next
Right.
winter, beginning of the winter, without enough time. And I hate to propose extra meeting time or anything, but what I wonder about this, also about the beach house stuff,
Mhm.
if we should entertain having a workshop,
Mhm.
which I know still has to be
Right, it's still public and all. that.
public and everything, but where, you know, that's what we're talking about for that
Call it a
hour.
focus group, it doesn't, and then you would just, the focus group would report back to the meeting.
Oh,
as long
So you
as
can't have a quorum.
you can't have a
Oh, you
quorum,
can't.
no,
Right.
no.
So however we decide to do it, I feel like both of these issues are things that are gonna require gathering information before we can make any informed decisions, and some poring over the information and maybe discussing, whether it's a focus group and we can't have quorum. I'd be happy to not participate so that we didn't have. No, but I feel like maybe that would be a more effective way.
Take one for the team.
I'll take one for the team, yeah.
Why don't-
That
why
would be
don't we plan-
maybe effective in this.
I think that's a great idea. Why don't we plan to do a workshop in February? This group for whoever can attend, and it'll be posted and all that, but it will be singularly focused on this. And I think the beach stuff, I think we can do just here and there volunteers helping, Angela as
Yeah,
needed.
and then see what we get for
Right.
information and go forward, but.
But I think this is a bigger issue, which is gonna require a lot more work. And so, you know, when we start talking about date, let's throw some dates out for a workshop as well as a regular meeting in February. Okay,
Okay.
that,
That works.
okay,
Can I ask a question? So, I get the form, I don't know.
no, it's very.
Name and address.
Okay. Name and address?
Name and address.
Yeah, TJ Laughlin, 207 Lancaster Road. So I guess in all this, if at the high level, I mean, the discussion makes sense, but I haven't necessarily heard a goal other than like, we should just raise prices. Like, usually, I know you're not a business, you are municipality with other requirements, but like, what's the goal? Like, how do you know if you've succeeded? Is success just raising prices? Because what costs are we trying to cover? What percentage of the costs are we trying to cover? Like you said, if the Phillies drop, you have the high school that you're supplying fields for. So even if we're run out of town and you lose all of our income, I beg the question is, are you not gonna maintain the fields? Like, is the goal to cover the cost so you can keep maintaining the fields? Like, what's the governing goal of raising prices?
Good question.
I can tell you the plan is to maintain the fields, because it'll cost me too much to bring them back if we don't. So either way, I have to maintain them until the select board tells me I don't have any money left to do.
Or until, I mean, this committee at any point could say, we don't want, and I'm just using this as an example, we're not planning on doing it, but we could certainly say, we don't want a baseball field down at McNally anymore, stop maintaining it as a baseball field. We could, as a commission, we could certainly do that, so it may not be running out of money, it may just be the commission also saying, we don't wanna maintain it as a softball field. If their program was to leave town, I can't imagine why we would continue maintaining fields that nobody was using as baseball
The
fields.
high school.
The high school, the softball field and the 90-foot, yes, but Powell Field, Fitzgerald and McNally, we may choose not to if we don't have a program using it. Right? Why would we maintain it?
I
as
mean,
It would be repurposed for something.
something else,
Right.
right?
I wouldn't maintain it necessarily as a baseball field, but at the moment,
It's gotta be
it still has to get cut.
Right, that I
You know,
would
is it
accept.
getting cut twice a week in the spring? No, not anymore. You know, we already back it off in the fall when, or, you know, midsummer when no one's on it, because
Right.
we don't have enough money to correctly maintain it as it is.
Yeah.
So we already, you know, kind of triage how we do it all. So we would certainly cut back on mowings if nobody else was using it. But the reality is, the more you cut back on it, to get it back, especially Marshall, to get it back to the high school, it would cost more than we saved to fix it.
I mean, we are required to look at these as charging for the cost and provide the service. That's what the state requires of us. So, you know, it's a case of what does it cost for us to make sure that the fields are ready for safe use by the different user groups?
And that can be part of the focus group too, and understanding that a little bit, but I think part of the goal, part of the success or whatever you wanna say is to hopefully have some sort of impact in Chris's team's ability to better maintain, and in all seriousness, but we talked about this last month, like, I'm dead serious, like, no one's looking to run anybody out of town, no one's looking to not have you guys as a priority per se, I mean, just about every property that this commission is, has under care and custody is a ball field.
Exactly.
So, it's, but I think there needs to be that better streamlined and good communication, what you guys are seeing at the field, and how is that channel back to us, so we know things are getting fixed, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be done. I don't want it to be something, my personal thing, like, I don't want it to be something that you guys are feeling that you're responsible for the upkeep of those fields. I get breaking the sand and clay or whatever, kind of, that kind of stuff, but, I'd love for us to be at a program that's, you guys show up the field and if they're ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's it, that's the other aspect that I'm thinking of too, is like, cost is always one side of the equation. Usage, right? Like if the majority of the property you guys own is baseball, softball fields, don't you have an incentive to also want to allow as many people to use as possible? So you should have the countering argument of, can we reduce prices as much as possible to get the most usage out of them, right? Like there's a trade-off instead of just.
But here's the trade-off there. We have another youth program in town that seems to be lacking in field space. To the point that they have even talked about moving out of town. If we're gonna do, if we wanna use that comparison, we could easily move another sport in and take over, Fitzgerald Field, for lack, just because it's the only rectangular shape big area we have right now. That could become a soccer field, and we would actually get more people out there by bringing in LISA to use those fields than I think that it actually gets utilized right now. So should we reduce our fees to get it used more? That's one way to look at it, but at the same time, there are people that will not go out on those fields because they think they're reserved for baseball, and when they go by and they see baseball games and whatever, they don't stop and use it. They're residents of the town too, so they can't go out and use it during those times. So we're taking something from them to allow a user group dedicated space during that time. And so there's just that, there's the weighing of that too. So it's, it's one of those situations where I think I think fees have been the nature of things for the past 10 years. I think we've kept them fairly low for our families, and our residents and our groups. And I would hope we would continue that way, but I think at the same time, we also need to be, figuring out, like you said, TJ, what's the success of, how do you bank on or gauge that success? And I think every single one of us is gonna have a different idea of what that success is. So.
I frankly don't understand. I feel like there's a sentiment that is like, we shouldn't be charging the youth baseball and softball.
No.
Or that there should be some special, like you said, the other youth sports are paying, the high school sports, high school soccer use the high school fields over the summer for summer league, and we pay for it. The boosters pay for it and collect the money from the players to pay for it. And, and it's the same kids that are playing for the high school team, but because it's in the summer and it's outside of the purview of the school year, you know what I mean? Like if we were to run you out of town, as you say, and you have to go somewhere else, nobody's gonna give you the fields for free. So I just feel like there's a lot of like, we're gonna raise fees just to raise fees, and we should be lowering fees, and it should be, you have to cover expenses in everything you're doing, and everybody's paying to use what they're using in one way or the other. So I feel like it's coming across like you feel like we're attacking, you know, or expecting something from you guys that isn't expected of everybody else. And I feel like this is just sort of the world we live in, where you have to pay for what you're using. And we're just trying to be good stewards of what we have and make sure we can maintain it and take care of it, while not charging more than we need to charge, but charging an adequate amount. You know, and the same way you try to figure out what your fees are and you recognize you're losing on what you're charging your families. Somewhere down the line, you're probably gonna raise that price a little bit so you're not losing, you know, so. I think this is just trying to sort of level it out and figure out what actually makes sense, as opposed to trying to run anybody out of town or raise fees just because we like to sit here and say $20 isn't any good, let's make it 30. I mean, that's not what's happening. You know, that's why there's so much discussion and looking for information and whatever to make an informed decision one way or the other.
Yeah, my argument was not that you're attacking us, it's say Veterans Park. How much do you charge for that usage?
Who uses it?
Who uses it?
Exactly, that's my point, right? So the incentive is.
But so look at that though, TJ, let's use that park as an example. Veterans Park is open to anybody and everybody, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
When we have a user group come in to Marshall Park, McNally, Fitzgerald, any of those, it's now not open to the entire population 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It cuts out some of the prime user time, some of the prime user space in there, reserving it for youth groups. So the difference between Veterans Park and Marshall or any of our other fields is that is open 24/7 to anybody and everybody. If somebody wanted to come in and request it for an event, then we probably,
I was gonna say, would there be if you had a,
we'd have the same
if you had a dedicated
conversation.
group that wanted to come in and use
Yes.
Veterans Park
We'd have the
for a,
conversation.
Like, didn't we have like a veterans memorial
We
ceremony?
do something on
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
But I,
Yeah, but that's
That's
the
a
town,
town.
that's,
yeah,
And I actually have no problem.
I'm gonna just say out here publicly, I have a real issue with talking about our Veterans Memorial Park and ball fields in the same, like, yes, they may be under our purview or whatever.
it's
I'm
the
not
same kinda
particularly interested in renting Veterans Memorial Park to somebody to have a
veterans.
Veterans Memorial service.
the park was established
Okay,
in
so-
respect for our veterans.
A lot of that is put on by
It wasn't
us.
established as a recreation
Right,
facility.
right.
Okay, I think we put a lot of
I
thoughts.
think
out
that
there,
jumps
which
the
is
shark a
important.
little bit.
That wasn't actually an argument, but it's okay.
But I think I'd like to, if we're not gonna take action on this tonight, I'd like to push this forward. We're gonna find a date in February. Yeah, I'll be glad to send you a text,
Sure.
let you know what the date is, if you're not here for that part of the discussion tonight.
Yeah.
And you know, I will take ownership of trying to do what I can do to reach out communities that I think have comparable facilities. And people are welcome to challenge my definition of a comparable community. I'll probably, you know, need to confer with you a bit on that, and maybe TJ, you guys as well.
We also have a list of the towns we play, if that'll be useful.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That's
That'd be great, thank
yeah,
you. Okay,
that'd be great.
so
And
I'll
I'll
take
call it,
ownership.
I mean, I'll,
Yeah,
I'll forward you what I have, because I've already attempted this. and
Okay,
I get no response, so.
but I'll see what we can pull together so we have it ready for that meeting in February. Okay, are we good on this? Okay, all
thank you.
right, thank you, TJ, for your part of that.
Thank you.
Okay, Marshall Park updates. Quickly, Chris Ruth has been named by the interim town manager, excuse me, as the project leader, project manager for the Marshall Park project.
Congratulations.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted. Another project that.
So what that means is he's the lead person on this. He is the key contact for dealing with the design team and with the OPM. And while we'll still be making the policy decisions, design decisions, with feedback, he will be the one that will be responsible for coordinating all that stuff and making sure things get done in a timely manner. So we appreciate that you're willing to do that. Obviously, we're still here to help in whatever way we can. It doesn't mean it's
But I do
totally on your
appreciate it.
shoulders.
It wasn't an option anyway, so.
Those already happened.
I mean, to an extent, I don't think a whole lot has really changed, because I'm not gonna monitor emails and say, you know, Anita, how dare you email them, you copied me, it's fine, it
You're
doesn't.
starting work next week, I didn't send you that email though. they're starting the work next week on the playground and all that, and I just forgot to include you in the email.
Which playground, I don't know what we're talking about.
First, forget it.
She was trying to joke.
I'm
She's
joking
kidding.
with you that I've given them permission to start the Marshall Park
Oh,
project.
that's,
Right.
let them get started, see what happens.
I don't have a way to pay them, but
Okay,
But we can get started.
so anyways, I wanted to make sure you all knew that. ARPA funds, we were successful in having the Board of Selectmen approve letting us keep $200,250 of the ARPA funds, which is the amount we need to finish the, basically, 60% design of the park for phases 1, 2, and 3, not for phase 4, which is that wetland area. So that's kind of, that'll be a future part of it. But, so I appreciate, and I'm sure we all do appreciate the Board of Selectmen having faith that we're continuing to work on this design to get us to a point where we can have a fully updated cost estimate and more information to provide at Springtown meeting.
is that ARPA money enough to, and whatever we had left from the other things, enough to cover the Fuss and O'Neill bills as well? That I think we're.
Yes,
Okay.
we've got the 2 Fuss and O'Neill
Okay,
bills.
and that's it from them?
That's it from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those have been processed.
Okay, thank you.
So, so the, design team will continue working. As I said, Chris will be lead on that. Karen and I, kind of jump in on that, on the design team, interaction as we're able to, and I will not be able to be part of that meeting tomorrow. Yeah, so, but anyway, so that's where we stand on that. So that was good news. And then we come to Heather is here tonight. I'm not gonna pronounce your last name correctly.
Mike Casey.
Okay, thank you. So Heather is here tonight with a request for us to consider allowing a little free library be installed at Marshall Park.
At, Wallace Park.
Oh, excuse me, Wallace Park.
Wallace.
So,
Which I spelled wrong.
Anita doesn't know this because she wasn't on the commission at the time. We actually have already granted permission for a little library to go in at Wallace Park.
Oh, really?
It was just never installed.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Predates me.
So I don't, and we can re-vote it. We can, she can present what she has to present and we can re-vote it.
Yeah,
But that is something that the commission had, supported and it just never went anywhere because.
okay, I did not know
Yep.
that. Heather, you wanna come up? You had some information to share with us?
Yeah, so I would build this and install this, so it would be no cost to the town. I think you guys all know what a little free library is probably, but it's
Yeah.
these little cabinets where you can like take a book or leave a book. And it's, good for the community, because you're sharing books. And it makes like going on walks or going to the park more fun because you can pick out a book, promotes reading. And, so there are lots of, basically I would buy one of the kits from littlefreelibrary.org that would look kind of like this. You can do wood or you can do like a composite material that would be, stand up to the elements. And I was thinking the best way to install it would be a post like this that has like a long metal screw in it, so you can just kind of, you don't have to dig, you can just sort of twist it and it goes into the ground. I get, hopefully. And.
What do you think, Chris?
Just based off of what we have over there between pavement and wood chips, I think almost better off attaching it to the snack shack.
Really? Okay, perfect, because one of my ideas.
Easy is that where it's concrete?
Yeah, that was my question.
It's 4 screws, I can have my guy do it in 10 minutes.
Okay.
It's really,
Because I was thinking my first choice for the location would be like behind the snack shack. There's I don't know if it would work there, but like right here, there's a bench there, so I thought it would be nice because people could read. It's kind of close to this merry-go-round thing, but I have another picture that shows exactly how close it is, so I don't know. That was my only worry, that it would be too close to
I
that.
mean, based off what you just showed us, it wouldn't stick out past the bench, so.
Okay, right, well, true.
Not
true.
really concerned by that, and the mounting it is really very easy, it's,
Okay. That would be
It's-
awesome.
yeah, I probably have the drill in my truck to do it right now, it's an easy
Okay.
thing, so.
Great, so I would buy the little free library and then I guess we figure out how to have you install.
Yeah,
it.
you and I could coordinate installation, assuming the commission is okay with it.
Yeah, so Heather,
Great.
just so so you fully understand what you're getting in this, that playground and basketball court, very popular, especially in the summer. We have had vandalism down there.
Right, yeah,
We actually, I don't know if it's still down there, we actually had a diaper box down there, a diaper donation box where people who needed diapers could go and take. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it was down, it was under the bench for quite a long time. And I know every now and again, somebody would, go through and toss diapers all around the playground. So, is it something that you would be, checking in on a
Yes, yeah,
fairly regular
exactly.
basis?
I actually walk by there every
Okay.
day. We walk our dogs like on a loop through Whalen, so, I can check on it like every morning.
It doesn't have to be everybody, just, I guess it's more.
More of an
safe.
effort.
You just-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
FYI,
I'm
and, be
around.
prepared for, some of that and.
Yeah,
And, it's something that we can certainly, once it's done, advertise through my rec and we can make posts on Facebook as well and, to get, your library stocked up and.
Yeah.
Go.
and I have a lot of books, like I'm in digital clubs and my kids are in college now and we have a lot of their kids' books, so I have books to stock it to start it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
So it was actually, in April of 2019 that we had the Parks Commission. Was that before you too? Maybe it was
I think it
before you.
is.
It was fine.
I think
I don't
I-
know how long you've been with us. It was April 25th of 2019.
I joined after when COVID started, so I
So-
joined 2020.
Okay, so it was a year before. I think it's a great idea. I think
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
have
thank
no
you.
issue with it at all.
Sure.
So I will make a motion to allow, Heather Mukasey to install a little free library, at Wallace Park, working with Chris Ruth on the installation.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, you're good to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience waiting for
Yeah,
that
no problem.
discussion. Okay, time wise, do you think?
I originally, when I thought we were gonna have to like put a post in the ground, I thought we'd have to wait till spring, but,
The crowd's pretty frozen.
now I'll say January, I have to order it.
Mhm. Okay, Chris can keep us updated.
Okay,
All right, thank you so much
Okay,
for
yeah, thank you very
wanting
much.
to do that.
thank you guys.
Free coffee.
My card before we go.
Oh, yeah, thank you, thank you.
He just needs to give out his cards because he doesn't give them out
Doesn't
right
know
now.
what to say. I'll take a card.
please, I know.
Heather, can you remind me of how to spell your last name?
Yeah, it's Munkasy. Hi, thank you.
It should be enough.
Okay,
I'm talking on the office lines, but all over the place.
okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, grant updates. One of the things that we had been talking before was, that if we're going to keep moving ahead with grants for this project, that we should, look to find somebody to take on that heavy load. I know Karen put in hours and hours on it,
And
did
I'll
too.
be honest, I'm not touching them again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So the selectmen did have those funds, the $50,000.
So it's not selectmen funds though. I don't know if somebody's telling you something different. That was a general appropriation at town meeting, so.
But the Board of Selectmen have according to Carter, it's the Board of Selectmen who would say yes to approving use of the funds.
So that's not the way it was supposed to work?
Okay, how,
It was my understanding that it was, unless he's created a policy to how to expend them, that would be something different, but at town meeting, we just appropriated the sum of money for grant writing services to be contracted out. There was no stipulation in there that it had to go through the select board. It wasn't under the select board's. That's how I remember it.
when I discussed it with Carter, he said that, we would need to bring a proposal forward for the selectmen.
Okay, that's not my, and actually, if Dave Passios has his hand up,
Oh, okay.
because he would, do you mind if I let him?
No. Hi, Dave.
Dave, can you unmute?
There we go.
Hi, Dave.
To my knowledge, that line item was put into general government, which is under the control of the town manager, not the select board. As Karen said, if Carter has done something different with policy since he's come on board, then you would, I can't even imagine how he can change that, because that's the way our financial side of the town works. General government is under the care and custody of the town manager, just like our buildings are and so on and so forth. From the finance committee's point of view, when I was on it and we created that line item, we had those discussions, and that's pretty much what was determined. And the previous town manager and one of our members on the finance committee were supposed to put together the procedures for applying for those dollars. That's what I know at this point.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that clarification, Dave.
You're very welcome.
So the grants that we did apply for and did receive, we're being strongly encouraged by the grant administrator at the state level to reapply for those grants. I told her that the OPM that we're working with is looking at the grant cycle and looking at the likely timing of when it would be appropriate for us to reapply for those grants. And that may be on the discussion for tomorrow. I didn't look at the agenda. So, you know, when we're ready to go for those, we can give, you know, we can request the grant assistance for those, and give whoever that person is that does that work the grant applications from the past grant, so that they have something to work with, that we know was a successful, you know, grant application in the past. So, you know, so I think that we'd be crazy not to try to request that then of the town manager. The other thing that Dave had put forward in an email, I'm not sure if you were all copied on it, about the green communities. Dave, do you want to speak to that while we've got you?
Anita, honestly, I don't remember what was included, or I know what you're talking about prompted me to send you that email, but I've been traveling the last 3 weeks or so, and I did not pull that stuff out in front of me. But I was basically trying to pass on to the people involved that whatever that entity was, clearly seemed to be an opportunity for you guys to get help applying for grants. And I was also, you know, outlining what I just said about the finance committee forming or pushing for that line item in this year's budget, which ultimately got put in by the town manager because of information that 3 of us had received at the MMA conference last January. And it comes up in all of the annual and spring meetings with the different entities that bring finance committee people together. So it was more a ploy for you guys to have some more ammunition to go after some of that $50,000 that's in that line item, to help you get a person that is a professional at identifying appropriate grants and applying for them. Evan Waters, before he resigned from the finance committee, had done a little bit of research, and there are a number of companies out there that specialize in this stuff, and they're not super expensive.
Okay. Yeah, so I think what I'd like to do tonight is to get us to take a vote to formally request of the town manager that, you know, that we have resources through those funds to definitely reapply for the park grant, land and water conservation fund grant, ADA grant, which we did not receive. But, you know, to reapply for those 3 at minimum, and then, as Dave pointed out, to also have that professional person look to many other appropriate grants that might be, the right thing for us to do time-wise. So I'd like to take a vote on that tonight, so I have that to take back to.
Do you need me to restate that all in a motion?
Why don't I do this? Could someone make a motion for the commission to formally request of the town manager that we get the necessary professional assistance to reapply for the park grant, land and water conservation fund grant, ADA grant, and any other appropriate grants that would assist us in reducing the cost of the Marshall Pub project.
So moved.
I'll second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you on that. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, Anita, could I add one more comment?
Yep.
Dave, this might have been in that email also, but Dave Blatt, Chair of the Green Communities Committee, attended a workshop at Devon's that brought all of the people in the individual towns, or many of them, together that are involved in green communities, and DOER, which is the state entity that administers that, ran that meeting. And again, networking at these meetings is what you really get a lot of good information from. Dave was telling our committee that he had a conversation with a gentleman who was on staff in Rockport. I believe it's Rockport or Gloucester, it's one or the other. Anyway, he is a full-time on-staff grant writer for that town. And most of their other staff members, including Board of Health and other departments, are only part-time in that town. So they put a real push on a grant writer because they believe they get back way more than they pay out. I just needed to add that. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions on?
Have one. There's actually like a grant writer position in my son's school district, but that's all they do, grants and.
Yeah, school districts typically do have grant writers.
We don't here.
Yeah. Okay, we're at the point in our agenda. Can we let Chris go home? Do we have any other
Go.
things that we need,
Hi,
Chris? Thank you for being.
I may or may not be able to lock the door, but we'll find out.
Spend it till it doesn't look open anymore.
I just play with it.
All right, thank
Yeah, I'll get to
you.
a key as well.
Thank you.
I could just do what I did.
Okay, all right.
I'm always here for it.
So we've already talked about, grant updates. Okay, invoices to be approved. We don't have any, new invoices that Karen and I have not already authorized under the, authorization that you guys had granted us earlier. So we're up to date on getting all the, Marshall Park related invoices processed for payment. Birthday cleanup, we already spoke about, master planning committee assignment. So Karen, do you want to just give brief on that?
Yeah, so I resigned. I don't have any words for the train wreck that is occurring at that side of things right now. It's been a lot of reserving times for meetings to have them canceled the night of or no quorum. So I'm saying all this to you because we need somebody, if somebody's willing to do it, to step into my place. They currently don't have another meeting scheduled. I don't know what their plan is, but they have a spot for a parks person, and I said, yeah, I'm out. So if somebody else is interested, feel free. If not, we just tell them that we don't have somebody, and they will have to figure out what to do.
Is anyone interested in taking on that? So
Well, I mean, with that
eloquently
sale.
described.
You really, really.
I honestly,
so
like,
bad.
I don't know how else I could have, it's a great group of people, let me be clear on that, it's a great group of people. But because that group is such a large group, they have a hard time making quorum. And like any other group, when you are a group that size, you get people, sometimes multiple people, who decide 5 minutes before a meeting to notify the chair that they're not gonna be able to come, or they don't notify them at all. and then we
You
don't
show
have
up
a
and you
quorum.
don't have a-
So that's where, like, I'm like, well, I could sugarcoat this and tell you that it's a fantastic committee. It's just, they're going through some, you know,
Good night.
going through some
Thank you.
figure. I didn't even get an official key. And then
How long have you
some-
had it for?
read your text message. You know, it's just, I don't know, I sort of lost my train of thought, but, you know, it's just one of those things where they have to iron out their details, and honestly, I don't have the time right now to stick around for them to iron out their details.
It sounds like it's not a time sensitive thing for us to worry about finding a member or a representative from our group to be part of
I was
that.
gonna say, is it, can they iron out details and then we can
And
dip our toe back in?
I can, yep.
Yeah,
Kinda
to get
do-
a little more consistency.
It doesn't sound like adding someone else to the mix to let them iron out their details is a valuable time.
Unless somebody's just dying to jump in and, you know,
Yeah,
offer
no,
their,
okay.
right, then I would say, why don't we,
Tell them that.
why don't we just say at this point, we do not have anyone who's able to be representative of our group. But we will continue, you know, once we find somebody, we will let them know.
If there's value.
It's a value, I mean, the whole, it was,
When you think about master planning as a
and the
whole, it
first
is.
piece
yeah,
of
it
it
is.
was
The initial meetings were
definitely.
kinda, they were really interesting.
And then there was a
Really interesting.
meeting 2 weeks ago that was never advertised, nobody did anything for, and they had like 3 people show up. And those 3 people were all from the master planning group. It's just, there's nobody driving the boat, so it's totally off course right now, and planning board's doing their own thing with the consultant, and, you know, it's just, I don't know, I think they just need to.
We actually have a
They-
consultant
We
who's,
do, we have somebody, a company called Over Under, that
Oh, yeah,
has been working
they
with
were
us.
doing the initial presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they ran this last meeting too, but again, you
Are
know,
they showing up to meetings to get canceled because there's no quorum? The consultant is showing up to meetings.
yeah. Or having meetings, even though the group was like, do you really wanna have a meeting? It hasn't been advertised, seems like a waste of time and money. And yet they move forward with that one too. So, yeah, I'll let them know.
all right. No.
And so, we don't have an open space person either, correct?
I thought.
Didn't Tim take the open
Tim?
Did
space?
Tim take it? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if he's been to a meeting. Okay, chair updates, I included in the packets, the list of the, capital projects that had been submitted for, you know, we had put through our request for the, McNally survey and design, and Chris also put in the, Marshall Pond weed treatment.
Is that the ranked list?
I don't know, good question,
Throw it over to me real quick and I'll
Carter
send.
sent this to me saying,
Looks ranked.
That's the ranked, that's the ranked list in this document later.
okay, he said, can you please call me to discuss this? So I'm not sure what, I don't know whether he's saying, you know, look, you've got so much on your plate with Marshall Park, why do you have these other things here?
They didn't make the cut, so so our 2 things are, even though they're ranked, I believe that
They're below funding.
I thought so, but I could be wrong.
Well, I just want to let you know that, I had this communication with him, that's why I'm just doing it as a chair update. I had this communication with him, I will let you guys know what the discussion is once I've spoken with him. We did our job by voting what we asked to be put on the plan. And how it gets funded or doesn't get funded shouldn't matter to us. We did our job, those items are there. They will continue to be considered until someday they get funded, or we may determine they're no longer necessary and we'll ask that they just be pulled off. That's gonna be my message to Carter. So, if anyone has any other concerns, let me know. Okay, commission member updates on anything?
300th anniversary committee will kind of get a little more up and running. Spring, April timeframe, I think it's gonna be our first sort of real re-kickoff.
Yeah.
This 4 years was really too early, so.
I just thought you guys
So
were so into
excited,
it.
right, so much enthusiasm.
That's been
I
the
appreciate it.
the last 2 meetings has been like, so I'll say this one more time, you've done this too early. That's coming from Mr. Lincoln. So the discussions there really from I guess from like a parks standpoint, impact are really gonna be surrounding open space areas.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of deal, like they're asking questions about, you know, is Marshall gonna be done? You know, and Caesar and I were sitting across from each other the last meeting. Hopefully, yeah, let's, you know, keep driving forward. You know, I informed them that there's not a chance that anything will be happening at Northfield, by 2028. That's not even, I said, don't even have that on your radar. That's the only other real large open space that Parks has in terms of, you know, functional space.
Right.
You know, but that's kind of where we're at this point. A lot of it will be event wise and things like that, like, and this maybe plays into things that Angela drives, will be not adding new things, but what are the things that are already done that can be branded 300th anniversary-ish sort of deals. So as we think programming down the line, you know, we can kind of lend that, you know, logo, banner, whatever, if it has an impact on things that Parks is doing.
All right. Well, good. Anybody else have any other updates to share?
So we did do the polar plunge. We did receive a nice thank you from, the Boys and Girls Club thanking us for the beach and opening it and all that stuff that seemed to go off, with no issue. They were pretty funny. They had scheduled it from 12 to 2. They sent me a message earlier in the week. They wanted to get in at 10:45, and I could come back at, you know, they close up around 3. Yep, that's fine. It's not a problem. Went down to open it up and it was 12:40 and they called. They're like, yep, we're closing up now. So I think they overestimated how long it was gonna take.
How long they were gonna want it in the water.
They thought they were gonna like go
We're all
in
done.
and take a swim, but the kids were in and out. So I did say that next year, they're planning it for next year and that they could probably get away with a 15-minute time block. So you know,
15 minutes or 3 or 4 hours, one or the other.
And I think that was good because at one point they had sent me a message, somebody on their board had wanted to get them a porta potty and they were trying to do the logistics of that. Like this was on like a Monday or Tuesday for their Thanksgiving and then their event. And I'm like, you need to go through Chris Ruth, but you need board health approval. Like it's not as simple as just dropping a porta potty.
Right.
So they didn't have one there. And they, so I think if it was like 15 minutes, they would definitely not need one. I can say I was so worried about them using our bathrooms for even just changing rooms and somebody accidentally using our toilets that I went through with painter's tape and I like put it over the toilet and the sink and I'm like, do not use the water's off.
Yeah.
So it went off without a hitch. They seemed to have a good time. So, and they left everything clean.
Good.
So,
That's great. How many kids or how many
I
people?
don't know. I think she said.
There is
in the-
4,000.
I think more than
I
that.
thought it was
So-
like 6,000.
Well, not quite that much.
Initial.
It says,
The
Dear
initial
Parks
was-
Commission, thank you for all of your help with our first annual cold plunge. It was really cool that you let us use the town beach. Thank you for helping us raise over $5,000 in the fund. Stay chill.
Very nice.
The boys and
Stay
girls
chill.
club. And all the kids signed it. So, yeah,
Very
so
nice.
it was a good, and that may be something that, you know, if we may be able to piggyback off if Angela wanted to, you know, coming up for our, like, if we wanted to tack on 15 minutes on the other side of it to do an adult polar plunge if somebody wanted to do that. I do know that the fire department was on scene, so once they're there, if we could, you know, use them.
Yeah.
Even for a half hour instead of 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Oh my God.
Okay, we have minutes. We've got the October minutes. Did anyone read them?
I did open them today. Thank you.
You have, it was weird that they wouldn't open.
So it was like the logo was for a PDF, and when I was trying to open them, it kept trying to open them as a Word document.
Oh,
I'm like, but
That's
it's
weird.
clearly a PDF, and it wouldn't, like, I don't know, whatever, when you reattached it just as an attachment, it opened up on.
Open fine on my iPhone.
Android for
I couldn't open it on my.
Just saying, Chris.
Android. Yeah,
iPhone.
see?
Just like, somebody on this text is green, Chris.
Hello. We're discriminated class.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any edits to the meeting?
I didn't notice
No,
any
that's
edits.
fine with me.
I would make a motion to approve the October 2024 minutes.
I would check that.
So remove. Second, okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye, oh, yes. Okay. All right. Then we have the next meeting. So. I assume we'll have a regular meeting in January.
The third Wednesday in January is technically the 15th. Because the first is a Wednesday.
Oh. Does that work for everybody?
The 15th to the 22nd. Either way. But if we're gonna, I would say if we're gonna do another focus group in February plus a meeting, then
Right.
earlier is better. to have
Yeah.
a Meeting and then,
All right, so we'll do January 15th. And then for the extra, so the normal February meeting would be the 19th of February. So do we want to perhaps look at February 5th for that work group?
Anita, just, so you know, on that capital planning stuff,
Mhm.
according to my husband, our priorities were ranked low, may make the cut, but not likely.
Okay, thank you for that.
it's impressive they would get that far down the list, so that's good.
Might be the extra ARPA money's being put to that.
I was on capital planning when we didn't get past 7 of 30. Yeah.
The years that I was on it, I think we got it well into the.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. I was literally on years we didn't make it to 10.
Okay, so does February 5th work for people for that workshop night?
The 19th is,
Great.
break, I am not available, so, which is fine, still meet. I'm just gonna need to make sure somebody has the keys, and all this is, you just open this laptop.
I've got a key now, but you've got,
Perfect.
could you put in writing again, the process for doing that?
Yeah, I can try.
Take
Or,
pictures. Take pictures.
or meet
Yeah.
with me again one day quickly
Yeah,
to just go over it again.
Yeah, it's literally turn power on the TV and open the laptop and click on Zoom. There's like, the guy gave me this like big whole long direction thing that was not needed. So it's like super self-explanatory, but yes, I will
Okay,
write it
thank you.
down. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, do we want to change from the 19th to the 26th? I'm free, it doesn't matter to me. This is for the regular February meeting.
Either is fine. I don't have February vacation plans at this moment, so.
I might be away at some point in February, but I don't know when, so either one doesn't make a difference to me.
Okay. Well, why don't we say the 19th and give Karen a night off? Okay. Okay, do we have any other comments, public comments? Okay, correspondence we've already heard. All right, I think we're good. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:48.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thanks, guys.